Around 15 years ago, I had back pain, hip impingement, and knee tendonitis. I tried all the more traditional PT and rehab, and it didn't get me out of pain. Then I gradually stumbled onto the 5 elements that I'm about to show you here in this video. Besides a couple training bumps and bruises, I've been pain-free for the last 10 years. Here's the thing, it's pretty simple. But in my opinion, it's still highly underrated. Pain and injury can seem complicated, but I've found the simplest approaches are usually the most profound. Let's get to it. Here is a great article about a professor who had a stroke and used a daily crawling regimen to rehab his motor abilities and get back to teaching. Humans reflexively move forward, just like animals. We don't need to think about each step, it just happens due to our neurological wiring, except when there's injury or pain. This disrupts our autonomic movement, and you can see it clearly in someone who has back pain. They won't walk fluidly. Feldenkrais, who is a well-respected movement and rehabilitation teacher, believed that walking depends on the neurological and neuromuscular support of crawling. In simple terms, crawling helps you relearn natural reflexive strength and patterning. I like to have everyone first start on their knees. Just get familiar with the way your body will naturally move the opposite limbs together in a contralateral pattern, just like babies do it. But as adults, we can use crawling to strengthen our whole body's reactive strength. We want to move to lifting the knees and crawling on the feet. This will strengthen your whole body from foot through your core and all the way to wrists and hands, while rewiring our brain's connection to physicality. It's even more challenging on the muscular system to crawl in place. To do this slowly and controlled takes massive stability. This is the end goal. So this is completely anecdotal, but in my experience, people with tight hips, back pain, restricted necks, these people always have a tough time crawling. While pain-free, strong people can crawl no problem. It makes sense that we might go back to the root of our developmental movement to move forward. Step 2. Squat as a resting position. If you look at toddlers and kids, squatting is a natural position that we're all accustomed to resting in. As adults, we start to lose this ability from sitting in chairs, but bringing this back can have extreme value. We made a whole video about it that you can dive into here. And look, I'm not saying that you should have the same mobility as your toddler, but having this basic position will restore a lot of function in your lower body. I found a method that works very well in rehabbing the squat position. We can use our previous crawling pattern to bridge the gap in working on the squat. The horizontal squat starts in the quadrupedal position. We gently rock the hips back towards the heels and then back forward. This helps the body get used to deep knee bending and deep hip flexion. And you can always start with your knees on a padded surface as well. Because we're moving horizontally, there's less force on our joints, giving us a nice regress version of a vertical squat. Next up in taking back our proper squat mobility is to use one leg at a time. The split squat allows us to push deeper into the ankle and knee safely while also stretching our hip flexors on the other leg. Start with your foot on a box as high as necessary. Push deep into the front knee, getting your hamstring to cover your calf. Over time, you can slowly progress towards the ground. As those previous 2 movements feel strong, the last step is to spend 20 to 30 seconds in the deep squat position frequently throughout your day. You can also use some elevation under your heel to ease into this position. And if you enjoyed crawling, you can explore getting your hands on the ground and traversing around. These simple types of animal movements help you own the squat position. The more you use strength in these positions, the more your body feels strong and comfortable low to the ground. Step 3, hang. The simple act of hanging can restore your shoulders' natural ability to reach overhead. And this is one of the main abilities that we start to lose from sitting long hours of the day. Dr. John Kirsch found that so much sitting and slumping can cause the bones to compress some of those muscles around the shoulder. This leads to impingement and often pain. He found that his patients with this type of issue could completely reverse it by implementing hanging. And the bones could even reshape themselves to allow more space for those tissues. As a beginner, always start with partial weight hanging. Grab something overhead, keep the feet on the ground, and bend your knees, starting to put weight into the shoulders. Gravity will do the work here. All you need to do is relax and keep a firm grip. When you feel confident, you could advance to full hanging, which will put an even greater stretch through the shoulders. This force can also decompress the spine, having some positive benefits on back health. This last step is not completely necessary, but it will result in a very strong, capable upper back. This is to progress to dead hang pull-ups. Here we can combine our dead hang, which will stretch the lats, and then activate the lats to pull ourselves up. You can start these with your feet on the ground. Over time, take more weight out of your feet. The key here is to dead hang between each rep of pulling up. Step 4, lifting from the ground. One of the most human abilities is to lift something heavy off the ground. You won't find any other animal that can do this. But due to our long limbs and ability to hinge at the hips, we can lift heavy loads off of the ground. And keeping this ability strong in our bodies ensures that we can create strength through our legs and full backside. I like how Knees Over Toes Guy uses the seated deadlift to start people out. Here we take the legs out of the equation and just work on the hip and back strength needed to hinge at the hips.
Strengthen the lower back. And then as you're like hitting the floor, let's actually work on retracting those shoulder blades.
Yes, okay.
So it's a really nice foundational seated deadlift.
Then we can progress to picking up a weight from the ground, such as a kettlebell. I prefer to have people start with the weight on the ground because this allows you to tighten yourself into the weight before lifting. Keep your back flat. Squeezing your lat muscles will help this. This is not a squat. We want the torso to move parallel to the ground with the hips much higher than a squat. Squeeze the butt to stand up with the weight. And the sandbag deadlift can be a good goal to work towards. Because you have to get your hands underneath the sandbag, this will cause you to get into a deeper position and slightly round your back. This is much closer to real-world application because most things that we pick off the ground don't have a perfect handle on them. If we practice the ability to round the back slightly and be able to get back to extension, we'll be safer when we're faced with this in real life. Step 5, rolling. Here's a testimonial from someone doing our human animal method. For the last 3 weeks, I've had an injured lower back. After doing the human animal method from strength side, and after week 1 of rolling on the ground, my lower back pain is almost entirely gone. Motion is lotion. Obviously, this is anecdotal, it's not scientific research, but I've had a very similar experience. When we look at rolling type activities, we see that the spine must learn how to naturally yield to the ground. This requires unique core activations, especially into spine flexion. And flexion is where a lot of people become intolerant and run into pain. For thousands of years, yoga has used this position as a way to stretch the back muscles. And similar positions are found throughout many rolling variations. The one that I like to start everyone with is called rock backs. Here we'll work in and out of the back fold position. We can use a squat or half squat to start. We gently set the hips down, then mold our back to the floor lightly, bring our knees and feet overhead, and then reverse the motion. Use light momentum to bring us back into our squat. The ground gives you the feedback to create the right activations in our torso to gracefully interact with it. Yielding to the hard ground has the potential to make your body softer. And with that being said, do this on a softer surface like carpet or grass while you're learning. After you've fully explored the squat to back rock, then learning the backward shoulder roll is the next step. It's easily learned after the previous exercise because all you need to do is move your head to one side and roll over the same shoulder. Keep your ear to the ground to avoid rolling over your neck. Don't be fearful about moving your spine. Learn to use the spine's natural intelligence. So I know some of you guys in the Strength Side audience have already had success with some of these movements and positions. I'd love for you to comment below, share your experience so you can inspire anyone that's watching this video and wondering if it will work for them. Appreciate y'all, as always.